Well, welcome back to the Cheron Moore Show. I'm excited. I am truly excited. I've actually kind of started this interview before I did the introduction. I'm so excited. Today, my guest, as you all know, he's truly a legend. He's a legend. We have all danced to his music. A lot of us, I shouldn't say, but probably was born to his music. I'm sure he's heard that before. Let me just read a couple of notes here, if I may, please. He's had over 50 singles, if I'm not mistaken, over 13 top 10 singles, over 13 platinum, gold, and silver albums, has recorded over 300 recording sessions. Is that right? Like over 300?
Yeah.
Over 300 recording sessions, such hits as Bet You by Golly Wow, You Make Me Feel, Brand New, I'm Stoned in Love. Oh, I remember these. Break Up, it kind of makes you want to sing them a little bit, get that high tenor going. Break Up to Make Up, People Make the World Go Round. We'll talk about this, Stop, Look, and Listen, You Are Everything. The original lead singer for the Stylistics, now with the group, the New Stylistics. Would you help me welcome my guest, please, Russell Thompkins Jr.
Hello.
Yeah. Hey, brother.
All that stuff, man. You're making me make me think I am a legend.
Man, you know what? If you don't know me by now, boy, like old Teddy said. Hey, brother, how you doing?
I'm doing good. The circumstances, I'm in quarantine and can't go anywhere, can't do anything. I'm just here trying to sing a couple of songs and waste the time away.
Oh, man. I was going to ask you, how are you holding up in this quarantine and stuff? Is it driving you crazy yet?
No, I've been through a couple of episodes where I felt like I just got to get out the house and go do something. And the only thing you can do is go shopping.
True. Take me all the way back. When did you know that you wanted to be a singer? How old were you and how did you learn?
My father was a jazz singer and he sang R&B also. And I never got a chance to see him sing, but he used to sit me and my brother down all the time and show us certain things of what he did when he was a singer. And my mother told me that she knew by the time I was about 4 years old that she said, was like, here you come again. And I really didn't find out until I went to school. And I joined the Glee Club in elementary school, and that's when I found out that I could sing. And I lived in North Philadelphia, and I lived on a street where it must have been hundreds of kids living on one street, and everybody had talent. Everybody had sports talent. Everybody could sing, So we all used to mess around with songs that would come out back then, but nobody took it seriously. Even to the point when I got in junior high school, me and a couple of guys that played on the basketball team, they had a talent show and we went on stage and sang at the talent show for fun. But after the talent show, the music teacher in the junior high school told me to meet her at lunchtime on the 5th floor. And when I went up on the 5th floor, she started running through scales and singing. I didn't leave her side for the next 3 years. And that's when I became a singer. She put me in the city's choir. She put me in her church choir. And I was the only boy in the girls' chorus in Vaux Junior High School.
Oh.
Right there.
Did you have the false tenor then?
No, I was a natural tenor then. In fact, I sang alto. I had that half soprano, second alto voice all the way through junior high school. My voice didn't started to change until I got in high school. When I was in 10th grade, I started to become a baritone. My voice dropped then. But I always wanted to be able to sing in that same tone. And that's when I found out I could do it by singing falsetto.
Ah, so then I read somewhere where you were in one group and someone else was in another group and they combined the two groups. Is that what happened?
Yes, that was 3 years later. In the same junior high school I went to, three of the guys that were in the Stylistics also went to the same junior high school, and we sang in the Glee Club together. That's how we met. So this is how the story goes. We sang together in the Glee Club, and they formed a group called the Monarchs. And they lost one member in the group, and they came and asked me to get in the Monarchs. So me, Arian Love, James Smith, and Alvin Ranton, and Anthony Scott were the Monarchs. We sang in the high school talent show in 1968, and we won the talent show. There was another group there that came in second place called the Percussions. At the time, there was an English teacher in Benjamin Franklin High School who was working as our manager. And at the end of 1968, we all graduated. Some guys went on to further education. A couple other guys went on to into the service. And she had the idea of taking the remainder of the Percussions and the Stylists and the Monarchs and putting them both together. And that's how we became the Stylistics.
How did that word stylistics come about?
Well, some of us wanted to keep the Monarchs and some of us wanted to keep the Percussions. But our guitar player at the time, Robert Douglas, who also wrote our first song, Your Big Girl Now, had the idea. He just pulled it out of his hat and said, the Stylistics. And it's
Wow. Wow. Isn't that something? And then thereafter you went up, did Tom Bell come after that? Come right after that?
And we recorded our very first song, Your Big Girl Now, with a label here in Philadelphia called Sebring. And that record went pretty big in the tri-state area, Baltimore, Washington, Delaware, Philadelphia, and New York also. And the people at Afco Embassy Records had interest in the group. Well, really, they had interest in me. And they came and they signed us to Afco Embassy Records and told me on Monday morning, I want you to be down at the brewery building here in Philadelphia, the Schubert building rather, in Philadelphia, and meet a guy by the name of Tommy Bell, and he'll be the producer on your next album. And that's when me and Tommy started working together. And that was in, I think, 70. Yeah, 1970.
Was the first song Break Up the Makeup?
Nope, the first song was Stop, Look, and Listen.
Really? I thought it was Break Up the Makeup. Stop, Look, and Listen.
Makeup didn't come until the second, I think, the third single. It was Stop, Look, and Listen, You're Everything, Bet You by Golly Wow, and then Break Up the Makeup.
I'm kind of jumping around a little bit, but I read somewhere where you said your favorite was Bet You by Golly Wow.
It still is.
Isn't that something? Why is that?
I don't know. It's a funny thing. When I got with Tommy, I was 19, and me and my wife were living together at the time. I was 18, she was 19. Then I started working with Tommy, but everything in my life at that time was centered around the same type of songs I was singing. You know, I was in love, and I had all these, feelings inside of me while I was singing all these songs. But that Bet You by Golly Wow, that one got me. It stuck with me so much that even after close to 50 years of singing a song, I can sing it and still have the feelings. I never feel like I don't want to sing it. Some of the other songs, I can get tired of it once in a while, but I do it. But Bet You by Golly Wow, when that comes up in the show, I'm hyped. Something comes up. And I just like to sing it.
I'm gonna give you a catchphrase. I'm jumping around a little bit. I'm gonna give you a catchphrase and tell me what does it mean to you. Yes, indeedy, deedy, deedy, dee. I did a little homework there, Russell.
Tommy was a very particular producer. It had to be right. and you would do it over and over and over until you got it right. And when you did, he'd say, "Yes, indeed."
I saw that somewhere when you said that. I said, I'm going to mention that to him. Some of the people that you were inspired by were surprised. Eddie Kendricks was one I saw.
Well, that's when I first started putting the falsetto together, when I heard Eddie Kendricks and Smokey Robinson. And from out here in Philly was Eddie Holman. I think I must have been about 12 or 13 years old, and they had a TV program here called 17 Canteen with the biggest DJ here that broke all my records, Georgie Woods. But the one who gave me my ability and my singing ability was listening to Dionne Warwick and listening to Frank Sinatra. The articulation, the vocal movement, the moving from one tone to another, they're the best I've ever heard.
Each time you smile, never thought that fairy tales came true, but they come true when I'm near you. You're a genie in disguise, full of wonder and surprise.
The song Stone in Love with You, you once said you was playing pool at a pool hall, ran down, knocked the song out, 1 or 2 takes, and went back to the pool hall. Tell us that story.
That's what happened. Tommy said, I want you at the studio, at I think it was Regent Studio, and it was at Broad and Locust. I think that's where it's at. Broad and Locust. There's nothing there now. But Broad and Locust, that's where 309 Broad, where Kenny Gamble in them studio was at. But right next door to that was Regent Studio. So he told me to be there 2 o'clock so we can, record this song. I was shooting a lot of pool during that time. And before I went there, I went to the pool room and I was shooting. I was doing good that day too, and I had to leave. Well, the pool room was 1 block from Broad. That was Broad and Columbia. It's called Broad and Cecil P. Moore now. I got the subway train. Took me about 5-10 minutes to get down to Broad and Locust. Went in the studio. As soon as I got in the studio, Tommy came up to me and said, "You've been to that saloon, haven't you?" Yeah, like they're coming in. And I got to singing the song. And it was very quick. Knocked it off and went back to the pool room. And that's one of the best sessions vocally I consider that I've done in my career, except for one mistake in the song. And I can hear that one mistake every time I listen to it, but it happens.
Now, do you see, I got a note right down there that says, press him real hard on getting the trouble. You never tell what that mistake was. An idiot to me when I looked at, you never.
I wouldn't even tell Tommy Bell. already knows. I would
Well,
never,
what was the mistake? Was it a note you hit wrong?
just a vocal mistake. Just a vocal mistake. That's as far as I'll go with that.
And you never will tell no one on that.
Nope, because then you'll be listening for it every time instead of listening to the song.
Yeah, but come on, Russell, that's probably that big of a mistake.
I've kept that secret now since about 1973, 72.
What are some of the ways you take care of your voice? Some of the maintenance things you do?
Well, I guess for about the first 30 years, I didn't. And I really didn't learn to take care of myself thoroughly until I lost my voice. There was a segment in time from 1973 until I left the original group in 2000 that I really didn't enjoy singing with that group. I enjoyed singing all the time, but with that group. And the stress and the things that went on during that time pushed me to a point where I really abused the things that I shouldn't have been abusing. And I asked God, I say, please help me through this problem. Help me get away from this thing that's driving me out of my mind. And you know, God works in very mysterious ways. And instead of helping me get out of that problem, which it did end up doing, he just took my voice away. I could not sing falsetto. I would go to a show and lose my voice. Come back home, rest up, and get my voice back, go back on the road again and lose it before I got on stage. And later the doctor told me it might have been stress, or it might have been something because during that time I might have had pre-diabetes and that might have affected it also. So I'm not going to sing and not be able to do it well, so I quit. Within 6 months, less than a year, I was back singing again. When I left the group, I felt like a ton of weight had been lifted off of me. I felt free. I felt, you know, and I didn't worry about singing. I didn't care if I ever sang again. But my wife, she told me, your voice is not the only thing that you have in you that you can create music. She enrolled me into one of the music schools here in Philadelphia, and the Settlement Music School, and I came into the Settlement Music School. She enrolled me like I was a kid. She took me to school, enrolled me in the class. And around the third year of being in music school, the guys in the band, the original band that played with the Stylistics, they came to me and said, it was like the Blues Brothers, hey man, come on, let's put the band back together. And we start. First I said no. And then they kept on and they kept on. They would, I mean, I'm jogging down the street. They would pull up in front of me with the car. Hey, Russ, it's time to put the band back together. I said, man, I don't want to sing no more. And I go running away. And they kept on and they kept on. A fella that I recorded with in 1996, and he's, me and him are partners now, named Chris Bueller. And he recorded an album on the Stylistics that it was not released. In fact, it's still in the can. He kept calling me. Hey, Russ, I want you to record a song for me. I said, I'm not in the business no more. I don't want to sing. He was very persistent. He would call me every day. I said, no, I'm not going in the studio. He said, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll buy the equipment for you and you can put it in your house and record anytime you want to. When you wake up, or just anytime, just push the button and start singing. I'll send you the tracks and just sing to the tracks. And he only wanted one song. Next thing I know, we had ended up doing 17. And that's when my first solo album came out. And that started to pick up a little bit. And when the guys came and said, let's put the band together, I said, I guess it's time. And I went back to work.
I'm so glad he came around. I read somewhere where Tom Bell didn't like the other singers' voices on the record, and so you did all of the vocals, and later on that was so much pressure with you doing so much of the work that was another reason that you walked away.
Yeah, it was, I all through my career, everyone I worked with wanted me to do the backgrounds and wanted me to sing all the leads, and it was starting to wear on me. That's another reason why my voice started to go on me after 35 years of singing. And we weren't getting along. When I would say, look, I don't want to sing all the songs, there's 3-4 members in here. I say, you guys got to start pulling your weight. We've always made the same amount of money. I've never made more than them. So I said, all right, come on, you got to do it. And they just wouldn't. And when they tried, the producers didn't want it. They kept pushing me to sing. Well, that started dissension in the group. That's when we started not to get along. And that was in 1973. I was going to leave the group after we left Tommy Bell. But when Tommy left, and he left to go work with the Spinners, the Afro Embassy people started their own label, H&L. And that's when they wanted to sign the group to H&L Records. I wanted to leave. I really didn't want to leave working with Tommy. And I let Eddie Kendricks talk me into staying. Eddie Kendricks said to me, you know how many people you feed? He said, all them guys that's in your band and in your group and stuff, they all depend on you to go on stage so they can take care of their families and so on. And I stayed for another 30-something years. And it was difficult. We had some real big run-ins during that time. And I always took it like it was my job. It wasn't just, I can sing anytime, but this right here is my job. This is how I feed myself and how, I take care of my family. Until it got to the point where I just couldn't take it anymore. I stayed as long as I could, but I just could not take it anymore. And it was getting worse and worse between me and the other members too. So I've been away now for close to 20 years. I have not spoke to or been in their company in 20 years.
That must have been tough, keeping that secret that was you on all the vocals on the first 3 albums.
Well, I was all about the group. We were brothers. We came up together, went to school together. I remember when Tommy didn't want to use them, I sat down and told the guys, I said, look, I don't care if I got to do all the work or not. The money will be broke down evenly like we always have been doing. To this date, they still get paid. They get their royalties, they get everything just like I do. But it wasn't about the money. It was about the work. You got to sing. And if you're making the money, why don't you do it? I could not see myself being in a singing group and not want to be out front singing something. Just give me one song, maybe 2 songs or whatever, but let me sing.
Yeah.
I got him in the studio though. When we left Tommy and we started working with H&L, they wanted me to leave the group and they wanted to produce me on my own. And I said, no, I'm not going to leave the group. And they said, all right. I said, also, you got to let them start coming in the studio and singing because people on the road are saying, they don't sound like the record. And, you got to get them in there and let them sound like the record. But that didn't stop me from singing the backgrounds because when they sang, I was the ghost singer. I either sang in their ear or sang on the other side of the mic. So when you heard them, you also heard me at the same time, keeping them in key, keeping them in pitch, getting their timing right.
James Brown. You know where I'm going. I hear James Brown was like going to school for you guys.
If it wasn't for James Brown, there would be no Stylistics. My manager's father was James' manager, and my manager also managed James. He's the one in the James Brown movie that was Dan Aykroyd. The Dan Aykroyd played his part. His name was Ben Bart. My manager was his son, Jack. So Jack put us on the road with James. I got married, and I think it was the day after or whatever, me and my wife's honeymoon was a 35 one nighter with James Brown. You know, James took us everywhere, so people got a chance to really see the Stylistics.
Tell me about, let's get to 2020. I'm excited to hear about the new Stylistics. Who are the members? And I hear you guys are really doing and having a great time out there.
Well, when the original Stylistics were together, we managed a group here in Philly called Portrait in Black. Portrait in Black consisted of two guys that I originally started singing with when they're in the Monarchs, Raymond Johnson and Jonathan Buxton. So when Raymond came back, when we were putting the new Stylistics together, he brought Jonathan Buxton with him. Jonathan Buxton was a good friend of my brother. We played basketball together, and me and Jonathan Buxton's brother played basketball together. So it's still that homegrown sound, but these guys were excellent singers. They can sing anything from tenor down to bass. They got great ears, they dance well, and they've really made it a joy for me to come back and start singing again. I have so much fun. I don't always feel like, oh, here I go again. I gotta go out here with these guys. You know, I'm ready to go. And we get along very well. I don't think we've had too many disagreements on anything, but I run the group now. So I try to keep everybody's interests at hand. I try to do what the whole organization wants to do. And the only time I'll intercede and say no is when something is ridiculous or if there's dissension between two other members in there, and I straighten that out and say, this is the way it should be. But usually I let things flow. And we're working very well. We have a lot of members of the original band and some new people in the band now.
My love, I'll never find the words, my love, to tell you how I feel, my love. Mere words could not explain. Precious love, you held my life within your hands, created everything I am, taught me how to live again. Only you came when I needed no friend. Believed in me through thick and thin. This song is for you, heaven gravity in our heart. God bless you. You make me feel brand new. From God bless me.
Let me ask you a technology question. What do you think of auto tunes and how they're going in the studio and making voices work? What do you think of that?
I love auto-tune.
I didn't think you was gonna say that, Russell.
It's gonna be an extra 20 years on my career. I go in the studio now and I sing a song all the way through, but I sing it on key and I sing it the best as I possibly can. But it might be a little something here that was lacking, stop, look, and listen, that I can fix. That's why I like auto-tune.
Let me tell you, in closing, You're a treasure, man. You're just a gem. I think I joke by saying, I see why the good Lord rests on the seventh day.
Well, I learned from a lot of good people too. You know, I had real nice people on the road, and when I first went out, like James Brown. I worked with the all the old Stax guys, who I can't even think all of them now. Percy Sledge and Archie Bell, the Intruders, Wilson Pickett. We worked with all of them guys when they were really big. I mean, huge artists, and we learned a lot from them. And a lot of it, you know, it's still hard knocks, but you know, if you know, I thought about it a few times. If life wasn't as hard as it was at times, it would be very boring. You know, it was just a part of living. Some people lives are very hurtful, and I'm very thankful to have had a life like I've had, to be able to do something that I love to do. No, I can't complain too much about anything. Even when the times was at its roughest, I still had it better than some. So I thank God every day, even now. God has made my life so good right now, just for the fact that I've lived this long and still can make music. I can't ask for anything else. Hey man, you can keep me on here. I'll talk to you forever.
I just might do that, Russell. I just might do that. I don't want to let you go. Thank you so very much for this opportunity of coming into your studio, meeting you.
Nice talking with you too, man. I hope to see you on a gig one day. We'll sit down and listen to what we can do live.
I tell you, I'll be that guy in the back row trying to do the false tenor.
Don't do that. I'll bring you on stage.
God bless you. Will you help us wave goodbye to the audience there? Say goodbye to the audience.
All right. And I like to thank, before I go, thank all the fans, thank all the people who have ever been in my corner, thank the people who bought my records, and I'd like to tell them all to be safe and take care of themselves so they can come out on the other side of this pandemic, all right?
Thank you, sir. I'll talk to you again soon. God bless. Bye now.